Hello, Hookist Nation. I'm Meredith, the CEO and co-founder of Hookist, and we are so lucky tonight to have two amazing gentlemen. We've got our partner in crime and Schoolapalooza here, Dan Mascola. He is the founder of an amazing music learning app called Moosiko, where you can learn guitar, ukulele, and songwriting at your own pace. And it is Dan has been so nice to give it to allow access to all of Hookist Nation for free. So guys, you need to check it out. It's really great. I am learning guitar. And it probably scares Gary to death.
Yeah, you're going to put me out of business, I guess.
And you guys, we are so lucky to have the legendary guitarist and amazing Grammy-nominated songwriter, Gary Lucas, here with us tonight. So guys.
My honor.
Welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Gary. So what we like to do on this little video thing we're doing is first announce the winning lyric of our collaboration for this week. So Schoolapalooza is a collaboration with 300 school districts across the United States. And thanks to Dan. And we have been writing this song for, when do you think, Dan? Like, when did we start?
We're probably on eighth week for about 2 months. Yeah.
Pretty good. And we're getting there. We're very close to the end of the song. We just have 2 weeks left, really. And so we have a winner tonight. And I think Dan is going to announce it.
Yes. So it has been the end of year concert a couple of weeks. And so submissions have been a little low, but that's okay. But we encourage everyone to get their submissions in. So we want teachers and students to finish out the song. The last pre-chorus is going to be our last couple couplets there. Okay, so the winner for this week, which is the second couplet of the second verse, is by P-Dub Music. And the lyric is, "Me seeing a future without you is the hardest thing I've had to do." Nice little rhyme there.
Wow.
To add to our... It is a very emotional kind of melancholy song.
Yes. Well, and Gary, we didn't mention to you that the theme of our song is the passage of time. So kids from around the country submitted their ideas for the theme of the song, and then they voted and they chose passage of time. So it's very interesting because we have kids in kindergarten and then we have kids who are seniors in high school. So I think the passage of time means different things to different, certainly at that age.
Definitely.
So should we give a drum roll? Would you like to read our song in progress?
Let's do it.
All right. So would you like to read it, Gary?
Yeah. We've made it to sunset. Me and tomorrow have almost met. Life moves on in a constant flow, leaving behind the things we all know. Verse 1. First pre-chorus. The memory of you slowly fades, but you'll continue to live on in other ways. And then the chorus. We can't turn back the clock's steady chime, but we'll hold on tight to what's left behind. Verse 2. I'll tell tomorrow you said hello. There's nothing wrong with trying to grow.
And then our winning lyric is, I'll repeat it. Me seeing a future without you is the hardest thing I've had to do. Gosh, guys, it's pretty poignant. I mean, we've gone deep here, haven't we?
We have, yes.
Very nice.
Great job. So congratulations to P-Dub Music. Very impressive. I'm so curious to see, like, was it a whole class that wrote this lyric, or was it one particular person?
Wait a second. Is he related to D-Dubs?
I know. I wondered that too. I don't know. We have
was the winner on the last song of mine.
Yes. And he won the beautiful guitar from Sam Ash.
Oh, it must be this guy.
I don't know. That's funny. I have to ask him that. But it's actually I think it's a music school. So maybe it's PW Music School. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But so funny. I thought of that too. Because one of our someone in the adult version of Hookist was the most valuable Hookist in Gary's collaboration, and his name was D-Dub.
Oh, cool. Well, maybe they're a distant relative.
Yes, at least in the W relation anyway. So congratulations, guys. Our next assignment is to write the second pre-chorus. So maybe we could, I don't know, somehow lift it up.
You want a happy ending, Meredith.
A happy ending might be good.
Yeah, I agree. A little turn or there's a twist, some kind of twist, right?
Yeah.
For the end. But we're very close. Just two more weeks, 2 more submissions, and then we've got a complete song.
Yeah, so exciting. And Gary, so actually that brings us, so Gary has written 3 amazing songs with us.
Oh boy.
And they all tell great stories. So that kind of sits here, maybe we should talk a little bit about like what the pre-chorus does and how it leads us into the chorus.
I think it's like telling a story. You got to try and come out with something bold in the first verse, if you're starting with a verse, to kind of ensnare your audience. Then the pre-chorus is like some sort of narrative hook that draws you further in. And then, to hit somebody with the chorus, it's like the major theme. Let's say if you compared writing a song to writing a short story. I mean, there's other strategies of doing it. I'm kind of an old-fashioned verse, chorus, verse, or verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, in several, mutations. These days, though, anything goes. It seems, I don't know. All these rules that, are important to me are made to be broken. And I don't know, I hear all the time songs or people's work that's deemed very trendy and popular, and they don't seem to follow any conventions. So,
you know what I've noticed about music too, and maybe the last 5-10 years, is the verses have gotten shrunk. It's like the death of the verse, right? It's just like you hit with the poppy chorus, and then it's like a couplet of a verse, and then we're back to the chorus or something like that.
Yeah. But I'm old-fashioned, so the songs that I like to write, definitely, you have a distinctive, I don't know, if they come in at least 3 minutes and 50 seconds, I think, and you got all those elements involved in the song, that would be a good ideal length. But like I said, there's no rules. I'm amazed at reading reviews of some new albums out there of artists that I used to cherish because they knew how to write concise pop songs with hooks, which is what I think is the fundamental, thing. As someone who basically composes on a guitar, I like to come up with very memorable hooks. That's how I got involved in Hookist.com, in fact.
Yeah.
But these days it doesn't seem to matter. I don't know, like I'm not disparaging the art, but people do all sorts of stuff just texturally. So.
And what does that mean, Gary, when you say texturally? Do you think that
I just hear a lot of stuff where they've layered on so much atmospheric noise on the track. I don't want to mention any names, but I just checked a new release out that got an incredible amount of attention in the New York Times of an artist who I've worked with, I've actually co-written with. It's this person's first album in 10 years. So it could be that he's getting all this attention because it's a victory lap of sorts. He's been out there. He's an older guy, older than me, and with a lot of legendary connections. But he loaded this album up with very long songs and used a lot of younger players, many whose names were unfamiliar with me. To me, that's not surprising, though, because I don't really follow current trends in music. And I think that if my advice to any young songwriter would be to really follow your own heart. It's true of any art form. If you try and write to formulas, it's a bit self-defeating and cynical. And you should be satisfying yourself first and foremost. To second guess things like, will they play this on the radio or whatever? I mean, for an artist like me, I just never really thought that was necessarily a goal to aspire to, though it would be nice.
But you've had, I mean, my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like, I've written a couple of hits. Those Jeff Buckley songs that open the Grace album probably are my best known. And
yeah, Rolling Stone every single year, the best album of all time.
But then also last year, Grace, the song itself, got into their 500 greatest songs of all time. And I got singled out for my contribution to the hooks. But in fact, I wrote not just the hooks, but the whole thing as an instrumental with all of the underlying chords as well. That's how it started. That's how I like to write. Like I come up with a finished instrumental usually first.
Well, so explain the process of a good hook, because I think a good hook will never.
Okay, well, it's hard to put it in words, but it's like an earworm. It's like a meme. It's like something that if you hear it once, you'll remember it the next day. That I mean, let's say it comes over. I mean, for instance, to me, the greatest hook as a youth that I recall hearing was the song "The Last Time" by the Rolling Stones, and I can remember. I think it must have been 1965, being over at a friend's house. And I'd heard about this band, but I had not been exposed to their music. And I heard this riff, which later turned out to be a riff written by Brian Jones, though he gets no songwriting credits on the song. I think that was one of the great crimes of the century, but anyway. But it's so hypnotic to me as a meme, as an earworm, as a hook. It was calling out to me. I heard that and I got hooked. Not just on the song, but the whole aura of the group, And then, of course, they followed it up with Satisfaction, which is Keith's riff. Now, both these songs derive from, in the case of The Last Time, there was a Staple Singers blues song called Maybe the Last Time. But it doesn't have this guitar hook, so that was an original hook. Some of the chorus ideas are actually derived from that song. And the Satisfaction riff is sort of Martha and the Vandellas' Nowhere to Run, played on the guitar. Sort of. So, what can I say? There's nothing new under the sun, though I think in Grace and Mojo Pin, there are no antecedents. I'm very proud of those hooks because I defy anybody to say, well, this derived out of this or that or anything. They just came to me by passing my fingers over the guitar strings with the.
And when you find one or you get something that you just can't get out of your head, do you try to write around it, or do you just kind of record it and and put it aside and leave it there?
Yeah, no, well, I try and write. I definitely record it, and I used to write. If you could view it through me, there's my little chair where I sit. We're playing my guitar. Meredith is very aware of it because I've done a lot of broadcasting out of that. And in the day, I had a little Sony tape recorder, so I would definitely compile music that way, and then add to it. Sometimes, I'd get up at 3 a.m. and I'd hear something in my head. Maybe it came to me in a dream or something. And I try and while I was still awake, at that point, play it acoustically on my electric guitar so as not to wake up my wife in the But then I for sure have something to refer to when I went back to work on it. So
Yeah.
I'm also people to like. Now you can do it on your iPhone. It's real simple. Just go to iPhone Memo. And you have a little tape recorder built into your pocket. Most people have that function. So that's how I did it. Ace of Grace and Mojo Pin. I was sort of confronted with the deadline, right? It's a long story, but to cut it short, I had a contract with a major label, Columbia Records, and then a lot of we just kind of dawdled on various issues. It was me and a singer. We were both signed to make this record, but the guy who signed us had left the company for Polydor, so we were thrown to the proverbial wolves. And we were fighting about really stupid stuff like the name of the project. And we were getting together and writing songs. Uh, and the way we did it was sort of like the way I eventually worked with Jeff, which was I'd come up with an instrumental with some hooks and riffs attached and the chord structure and hand it to the singer and encourage her to come up with a melody and a lyric. But we got the deal based on my songs 100% me written the lyrics. I mean, not blowing my own horn too much here, but but the A&R guy said, "Look, to be fair, you got to bring her into the writing process." So anyway, we compiled about 12, and then the guy left who had signed us. The other guy came in and said, "This is weird. I'm not sure. I don't know. When I see if we can, and we were also then fighting about who's going to produce this, and could name
So
a bunch.
this is a good lesson in collaboration, right? Like,
all right. But anyway, the thing fell apart. They dropped the whole thing, and they basically said, "You can't afford to sue us, even with a contract." So then I called Jeff Buckley up because I'd met him in that year doing a tribute to Tim Buckley, and we had actually written a song that was basically a jam. I had some blues changes, he improvised, and we had a song. So I told him what happened, and I said, I'd love you to be part of this now because I'm sure we can get a deal together. And he
and
said,
so
all right. He was.
for the kids out there, can I just say Tim Buckley was legendary folk singer, right?
Yeah, his father had, done about 8 albums for Elektra. He was brilliant, but he never had a big commercial breakthrough as a hit songwriter, like on radio play or anything. He was a cult legend, and but somebody I loved and respected who had an amazing range vocally, and so Jeff inherited a lot of his gifts, I think, genetically, and also listening a lot to his father's music. So Jeff said, "I'll be your singer." Okay. So then I had to come up with music. So, like I said, I had a deadline. So the next day, I was like, all right, well, let's see. Basically, my guitar was set to drop D tuning, where the low E string is dropped a step down to low D. I find open tunings to be quite a good key into opening up the possibilities of the guitar as a songwriting instrument, because you can derive all sorts of chords just finding shapes and then strumming the guitar and hearing the results, just moving your fingers around a bit. You can try all sorts of things. You can raise and lower strings, and Joni Mitchell had, I don't know, 100 tunings that she'd come up with. And anyway, my guitar was set to drop D because I'd done a Beefheart instrumental shortly, the last thing I played on stage before coming back and trying to tackle writing songs for Jeff. Seriously, I'd been working in Europe. So, okay, that's where it was set. And after a few minutes, I suddenly just, passing my fingers randomly and trying to just shut my conscious mind off, I came up with these riffs, picking patterns. an active finger picking on the right hand. I was big and still am on the use of the right hand without a pick and these shapes. And I got like a chill and I said, wow, I got to record this, you know. And that's how those songs got done. Because in the next week, I found two of them, and I just kept adding and maybe subtracting, wondering where will I go from this point. And it was like a sculptor trying to, you know, find the ideal form in a block of marble or something. You know, you just kept chiseling away, working, reworking the material until suddenly it felt right. So when I thought I had both of these instrumentals finished, I recorded them from beginning to end, and then slept on it, and then remembered them in the morning. So that was my criterion for what constituted a good song template, let's say. If I could write something and then remember it the next day without having to go back to the tape.
Wow.
I have a real solid keeper
And for students listening, what were the two songs so that they can go and take a listen?
The first two songs on the Grace album, Mojo Pin opens the album, and the song Grace. In fact, the album opens, it's my sort of howling, droning guitar. It's a loop that I made. That's it. It's me playing the guitar. But, you know, it's funny because I won't, again, mention any names, but recently I met at a concert here, was working with a bunch of musicians on a tribute to Fellini's composer, Nino Rota, whose music I love. And this fellow said to me, I won't name any names so as not to embarrass the guilty, but I said, you know, we ought to maybe try and write together. And he said, oh, yeah, okay, but, you know, I'm no Jeff Buckley. I said, oh, you have a great voice, I think. And, you know. Then he made some gratuitous remark that something like, well, yeah, you wrote the intros to those two songs. And it was like so insulting to me because it's like, wait a second. Without picking the songs apart, I wrote the underlying complete instrumental. Not to, yeah, you can hear the instrumental as the intros. At least they begin with my guitar in the clear. But it's, you know.
Well, it is funny how it is a complicated journey when you start collaborating with people, and that you want to, I mean, maybe the advice we give to people is like, be very upfront, you know, make a plan of how this is going to work.
Yeah, no, that's right. You got to decide what it is, you know, you want to achieve. But something very important from a business sense, if it's a one-on-one, you should have an agreement in place, whether it be writing, probably writing is the best, that if you finish the song together, when you register it, it's 50-50 in the writing and the publishing. Okay? Watch out for that, because I've had songwriting collaborations where that was not established, whereby 2 or 3 years after the person I was working with released the song on an album, his band playing it, I think I was on it playing, but anyway, he had his manager contact me and say, so and so thinks that he wrote more, he contributed more in the writing of the song than you did, right? So that we see you've registered at 50-50, and we don't think that split is right.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to get a lawyer to write a letter back and say, well, show us where it was written that it wasn't 50-50. I mean, do you have any evidence? Because every collaboration Gary's ever done with anybody on a one-on-one, it was, you know, 50-50. That's just how it is. You know, in France also, they have this peculiar, be careful of working with French collaborators.
Oh my gosh, let's not go there.
Well, no, I don't want to say that. I would encourage it. But in France, they actually, if you're the lyricist and you also on the song, you theoretically get a bigger split of the writing pie. It's like insane.
Mm.
I don't know why that is, that they regard lyrics as like, more valuable than the music.
The legality of music is the whole subject area.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying is I'm trying to warn kids who are going into it that like you should follow your heart and be as creative and artistic as possible. You can throw hooks out the window if you want to. You can throw these forms out, make some new radical form statements, whatever. But just be careful to get it in writing if you're writing with somebody, because you never know that it might bite you in the ass, at some point. And there are many examples where, like, for instance, Procol Harum, the lyricist, just died, Keith Reed. But there was a famous lawsuit where their organist, Matthew Fisher, went after the two writers who were registered on all their hits, Gary Brooker, who's dead, and Keith Reed, who's dead, saying, I actually, contributed a lot of that music. If you listen, the organ motifs, some of them came from Bach too, but some were, his arrangements and some were original. But it wasn't established, so it went all the way, and he won a judgment and was cut in as a writer as a result.
So get it in writing, kids. That's the lesson.
This is a business.
Right. But so let's teach them. How did you get started, Gary? How did you get started playing guitar?
My father came to me out of the blue when I was 9. I'm a lot older than that now. And just said to me one day randomly, how'd you like to learn a musical instrument? How about the guitar? So it was totally his idea. But it was in the zeitgeist, I guess. It was in the air. So I said, gee, Dad, that sounds like a good idea. Okay. So he went out and rented a guitar from some music store, a terrible, cheap guitar. The strings were at least a half an inch off the frets. Just tore my little, adolescent fingertips up, trying to even get fretted notes happening. Well, I took lessons for a month and struggled with this, but learned the rudiments of reading music. I was 9 through that. And then I just had enough, it hurt too much. So
I was wondering about that. When your fingers hurt, like, what did you keep going?
Well, no, I just suffered. And, mainly though, you have to have a certain amount of pain. It's like going to the gym. I don't do that either. But, no pain, no gain. You got to build up the calluses a little bit in your fingertips. And that's what, like, playing every day will more or less keep them intact once you've built them up. But in this case, I just had enough. And I was bored and I wasn't really into it. So they discontinued it. But they came back a few months later on a trip to Spain, where they'd acquired a nylon string guitar for me to play. And this I found so much easier to play that I would, recommend it to fledgling guitarists as a starter guitar.
Many schools' guitar programs use nylon classical guitars.
They're very easy on fingertips. Much easier to play, and they have a pleasing sound. So had it not been for that, I probably wouldn't have continued. But, I did continue and just kept playing. And then I guess my father, I wanted to play rock. So I was like, how to get an electric guitar. And when I turned 13, I had a bar mitzvah. This is for all people out there who are not Jewish. That's a ceremony after you studied your Hebrew school, Hebrew, and you read a little bit from the holy book, the Torah. And then hopefully you get lots and lots of presents. It's your bar mitzvah. So my father's gift to me was a Stratocaster,
Nice.
1965, and a Gibson Starfire amplifier. So I would sit in the basement and try and get a good sound out of this. Didn't really. I thought it was a very thin sound. I didn't. There was no. I didn't know anything about sustaining of notes or fuzz boxes or anything. So I foolishly got rid of it and got a 12-string acoustic, and that I really enjoyed playing. So I'm an old folky at heart. Then the
No.
strings started to break on that. It became a 10-string and then 9-string. And the more they broke, the more I got into it. It was easier to play, and I got into open tunings and raga. And suddenly, I was a pretty accomplished player. I don't know, but I listened to a lot of guitarists to figure out how they were doing what they did.
And so how would you figure out? So like maybe we could give people like what
I mean, there are books and YouTubes on everybody and under the sun at this point. In those days, once in a blue moon, you come on a book for guitarists of tablature that broke down songs. I never really used them. I did it by ear. I have a pretty good ear. I think I still do. And sometimes the beauty of your arrangements are you can get it wrong, and then it leads you to new territory. By
so
not looking at the tablature or the written out sheet music and coming up with your own arrangements. Certainly with the open tunings, that's a key into this. You know, I think it can really kickstart your creative energies and also stretch your technique.
and are there any artists that really influenced you to
Yeah,
you're
there are dozens of guitarists. I mean,
but I mean, who would you recommend to the kids?
oh, I don't know. It depends on what you're really going for. I don't know. I mean, I can just tell you because I don't, it's. I'm not sure if these names would mean anything. I was big on the blues, always have been.
As Keith Richards in his autobiography.
Huh?
Well, Keith Richards writes so much about the blues, how
Yeah. So I mean, but that's the basis of rock, basically, is blues, and so I was a blues rock aficionado. I listened. I mean, from an acoustic standpoint, anybody that injected a blues feeling into their playing or a passion. I mean, I saw Segovia when I was a kid. I was lucky enough to be, taken with my guitar teacher to a concert.
wow.
But what I listened to, I don't know. I love the old Stones records, this interplay with Keith Richard and Brian Jones. I love Skip James. Later on, I got into country blues in a big way. John Fahey was an influence. My first guitar hero was Dwayne Eddy. He had a song called "Dance with the Guitar Man." It had a break in the middle. I aspired to play. So there's so many,
And then basically, so it sounds to me, if I'm understanding correctly, you would then go play and just kind of play around and see what sounds and what tuning,
Yeah, I mean that's
kind of listen to other people and listen to
that they
yourself.
never listen to records are full of shit. Excuse me. That's how you learn. I mean, you try and emulate the sounds that you like.
Ah.
I think that's for sure. I mean, Charlie Parker used to jam along with Bartok concertos, and they obviously. I mean, I don't know. I think the era of recorded music becoming widely available, as it did, and the album format especially becoming popular, just spurred on a whole generation of you know people to want to get out there and play the guitar, and a lot of it was the oral folk tradition, somebody would know and figure something out and show it to you. That's how I learned how to finger pick. Up till I got to college, I was doing it all with a flat pick. And then I ran into these kids in freshman year who knew how to play with finger picks, which I found very cumbersome to wear. And they showed me the basic rudiments of finger picking. And I just took it from there.
Wow.
So these are all legitimate ways to, you went out to concerts, I would stare at the guitarist like, how is he doing that? That's amazing. I wish I
That's
could.
what I do when I see you play. I go, oh my God. So when you watch Gary play guitar, it's like his fingers are made of spaghetti. They are just flying. They don't look like they have any bones. They're flying up and down, and it's otherworldly.
But it's really what you're seeing there is just someone who's played since he was 9. So it's a long time. So it's second nature to me to play. Even I can go for a long time without playing. I used to feel I had to play every day. And I tried to do it a little bit, but it's unless I want to work something out specifically or write something, I don't feel I need to practice per se.
Amazing.
And that's like, I don't know, because I built the muscles up. They're still there. My fingers are so, knock wood.
Well, a lot of our students here are probably in that age range, right around 9. So start early, and if you learn, by 20, you have it for the rest of your life.
I think so. I mean, you just keep going if that's what you feel like, and if it's bringing you joy and pleasure, keep it up. I mean, I was taking French horn because the band leader, the same week I started French horn lessons as guitar lessons because I'd scored this music aptitude test in elementary school, like a perfect score. So he's like, well, you will play the French horn because you need the best ear. But I was lousy and I didn't like to practice and I barely have an upper lip. So, I kept it up to a degree for the next, 6, 7, 8 years and was in all city orchestra and band. But I really never could get a good tone out of it. I found it really a big pain in the ass to play, whereas the guitar was a pleasure once I built up those calluses.
Totally.
So I think that's a great lesson too, is, you might not start with the instrument that you love, like because I was in the school band and I played phone, believe it or not. But you might not end up with the first, if you love music and you're drawn to it and you don't love the first instrument, try another one, because like music obviously.
Also, yeah, I mean, like music comes in all flavors, I think I was lucky to get in on the guitar because, it just, I don't know, it felt right. And it was at a moment in time, what I was listening to that was like the early ventures was all instrumental guitar combo and the Beach Boys and then the Stones and the Beatles and, Yardbirds. So all of these were very guitar centric. So I think I hit it at the right moment where guitar was taking off, clearly as the most popular instrument. But yeah.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for sharing all this. I told you 20 minutes and now I've got you on for 45. So I'm really sorry.
All right. I want my residuals.
I know we're going to make tons of money from this podcast, but what we do have coming up. And so I'd love you to share what shows you have coming up. And kids, we definitely need to.
I'll tell you, if you're in New York area, this Sunday night, which is May 28th, I'm at the City Winery, which is a beautiful facility on the corner. It's actually across 11th Avenue on the other side. It's 15th Street and 11th Avenue. You can't miss it.
It's a great spot.
I'm up in the loft, which is the smaller room. It's got a gorgeous view of the river, the Hudson River, and I ran on it.
So if you're in New York City, come see Gary.
8 o'clock this Sunday night. And the next show after that is in Spain, in Galicia, in northern Spain, in a town Vigo, Vigo, and I'm playing my soundtrack to a legendary, it's a sound film with no music on the track, only dialogue, known as the Spanish Dracula. And what that is when they were making the famous Dracula in 1930 with Bela Lugosi, at night they were doing an alternate version for the Latin market with Spanish speaking actors, because in those days they didn't know how to dub different different languages on the soundtracks. So if they wanted something for another market, ethnic market, there are a few of these films that were done that way. So I create the underscore continuously and play along with the film, and I'll be doing more of that in this area.
You're always doing so many cool things, Gary.
I'm waiting
That is
for
very cool.
You're always
As
doing cool
always.
things. And
Yeah.
we have coming out very soon, probably in the fall, I guess, is our 3-song EP, 3 amazing songs that Gary wrote at Hookist.
I wrote the music and collaborated with the Hookist community on the lyrics, and watch for that. That should be fun.
Yeah, that's a great one. Well, and actually, the first song, I was especially honored, the first song that we did together, when Gary had written some music with Jeff Buckley in mind, but Jeff Buckley had passed away tragically, very young. And so for the 25th anniversary of Grace, we wrote lyrics to that amazing piece of music, and it's called Dance.
Right. That's amazing. Okay, well, let's finish that EP.
That's Terry. Terry's working on it.
Awesome.
I'm here until June 21st.
All right. Well, kids, go listen to Grace, Gary's amazing
And
first.
check any of my 50 albums. I've put 50 albums out at the last count at least.
Yes.
You're on Spotify.
Amazing. Yes. Follow Gary on Spotify.
Wherever you can follow me. Yeah. All right.
Everywhere.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you. This was awesome. Submit your lyrics, everybody. We're writing the pre-chorus next.
All right. Have a good night.
Ciao. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see.